So the first question is Dr. George Will discusses many important topics. Choose one that you are personally interested in, understanding, and then research the following. So did you guys all pick a topic? Should we just go, because there's like 3 questions that have to do with each topic. So should we just go around and talk about what topic we did and then answer the questions?
Sure.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Do you want me to go ahead and start us off? Okay, I'll start us off. So I chose welfare, and it says, so the reason why the government got involved in this issue was back in the 1930s during the Depression. They saw a need for families that needed help, obviously because they were going hungry and starving, and so that's when the government first started welfare. They saw it as a way for people to get back on their feet, but and just be of assistance to them. But when it asks now if it's been effective and what have the results been, I put no, that it is not very effective now. It is depending on the person who is receiving the welfare, I feel, because some people do use it in the right way. Like if they lose a job and they just need it to find, for a short time till they find another job. But a lot of times people don't use it to get back on their feet, but they use it as a way of living, and they use it the rest of their lives. And I've seen it become like a generational way of living. Like one generation passes it down. It's almost like a game, and they pass down the tricks of the trade onto the next generation. And it's just these families from generation to generation living on welfare. The last one says, what could the government be doing right now to help the situation more effectively? And I just put, come up with alternatives to welfare. I think that sometimes, in the beginning when you implement something, it starts off, you have the right idea and it works out okay, but then sometimes as times change, you need to change the policies with it. And I mentioned about emulating what the church does and how the church's welfare program, it helps people help themselves so that they don't become dependent on something. And then that was something that Dr. Wills mentioned, was that the government is making its people become dependent. So I thought that that was interesting. What else did you guys do?
Yeah, Tammy, I just wanted to say something. I think it's funny, like, I think at least these people that are getting money from the government, they should do community service. Or if they
Yeah.
are like disabled in some way, then I don't know, just do something. Get into a school and just volunteer, or if you have to stay at home, like do something from the computer. So I agree with what you said.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. Um, and you know what? I missed that part where it said research the following, so I have to be honest up front on that one. But it's something I've been thinking about a lot anyway. But I chose the one he talked about with the debt. That kind of what you talked about on the other side of it, Tammy, was that we're becoming more dependent as a people, but through the debt, the housing loan and the educational loans. Not much to say about it other than I wrote a lot of what he wrote down. That we want money for the future, we're borrowing for the future, and we want money without paying for it. It kills the private sector. Let's see. I don't want to go. I wrote a lot of things down, but I don't want to overstep anybody else. The main thing that I was just the question was, did it help? And I said no, because a lot of people are in debt over it's housing and student loans are both they can be very what do you call it? Not prisoning, but what do you know what I'm saying?
Burdensome?
Burdensome, yeah, like holding
Yeah.
people in bondage, And yeah, it does help people get education or helps them to get homes, but at the same time, look what's happened, recently to the housing market crashing. And student loans, I mean, if you get into, I did a class on debt management a few weeks ago, and somebody was telling me about how they're a doctor and they have over $100,000 in debt. They're not a doctor yet, but they have over $100,000 in student loan debt, and they're wondering, they're not even guaranteed a job, and so they're wondering how they could even get past that. So, anyway, I forgot what my thought process was on that part, other than just that it's burdensome.
Mm-hmm.
What I think has happened, and this is just intellect here, is that it's caused, like, let's say for this, you have a university that knows they're going to get a certain amount of funding for student loans, and so they can raise their tuition up higher. And then they give the student loans. I know where my thought went on this. They give the student loan, and they charge more for tuition, and the student takes out more money. And it's a perpetual thing that keeps raising and raising and raising. And the one thing that you cannot get out of with bankruptcy is student loan. The government student loan, they will always get their money. When you claim bankruptcy, you still have to pay on the student loan. It's the one loan that you can't get rid of. So anyway, I just felt like it was not very helpful. I just don't think it's very helpful. And a lot of what Dr. Will was talking about is that we have to be more fiscally responsible. Anyway, I'm going ahead of ourselves now, so I'll just stop right there.
Yeah.
Well, John, I'll go off or after you. So I went off of his comment of we're becoming more dependent on the government, and the two largest decisions were what you said, that getting the mortgage and getting a tuition loan to send the child to school. And so I didn't look up tuition per se, but I looked up how the government helps pay for college. So like FAFSA and Pell Grants and things like that. I just researched about that. And so I kind of saw that the government probably looked at all these statistics of low to middle income households that weren't going to college. And they wanted to make college more accessible to better the nation's education and job opportunities. And then in the end, it's more of an investment for them, because if more people make more money, then they'll pay more taxes, and then the economy will do better. So, and then the next question, has it been effective? So with like Pell Grants, like I'm more towards like Pell Grants. I've never gotten FAFSA or Pell Grants or anything like that, anything. But Pell Grants, I mean, there has been an increase of low income to middle income households going to college. And so I personally think that's good, but in the end, like what do I say? As Americans become more and more dependent, the U.S. government taxes us more to receive enough money or U.S. government taxes us more to receive enough money to give out. And so I kind of think, okay, so the money that comes from grants is pretty much tax dollars, right? In one way or another, it's the government's money, which is our money, kind of. And so they're giving out more and more grants every year, like even just a couple hundred more dollars from like 2013 to 2014. It's more money. And so I don't know. In the end, I don't know how they're going to help all of us gauge, but also I think if everyone goes to college, then there won't be much value to our degrees anymore. So I don't know.
It's true. I never thought of it before, Catherine, as the government investing in us because they will get our taxes. That's pretty, I've never thought of it like that before. That's pretty funny.
Hey, can I ask you something for a discussion
Sure, go for it.
about it? Because I was thinking about similar, Catherine, as well. The Pell Grant, I want to go on this whole government giving money out and raising things. Like take, for instance, doctor. See, I'm self-employed, and I've been self-employed for almost 15 years. And so there was quite a long time that we did not have insurance with my family. And so my daughter, we'd go to the roller rink, and she fell and broke her arm. And so we went to the doctor, and we paid cash. And the doctor charged us a certain price for cash, okay? And then we found out later through whatever, I don't know what, but we went back and found out how much he would have charged us if we would have had insurance, which was going to be almost double the price. But since he knew that we had cash, he paid us, or he charged us almost half the price of what he would charge to an insurance company. So that's where my whole thinking about when you have something like that gets involved, it's an accountability issue. Now with the grant money, I thought about the government. They're using our money with student loans. They're using our money to loan it back to us and charge us interest. Now it's not a high interest, but it's a lower interest. To me, that doesn't feel right that they're actually doing that. I actually feel better about them giving out grants because it's our money anyway. But it's almost like a socialistic thing where they pull from us and give to somebody else. What are your thoughts about all that?
I agree with that, and then it's also a bummer when you're not getting any of them, and they're using your money. Like, I don't know, we must make just enough that we don't get anything. So, like, none of our kids ever qualify for FAFSA or anything, and yet it's really hard for us to pay for it. I mean, it's really tight paying for, like, the 4 kids to go through and my husband and I online. So I'm kind of frustrated with the way they determine, too. Like, instead of just numbers of households going to college or the grades that the people got, I guess I just have a problem with the way they're handing it out, because it really isn't for those reasons. It's just for people that need financial help, isn't it? I mean, that's the main reason for FAFSA. And so I feel like maybe if it's going to be they're taking kind of everybody's money and using it to invest in people that need to come, it should maybe just be a more, I don't know, I just personally think it should be based on grades, like how hard the kids work to get in, or maybe just on the number of households, that they should look into other factors, I guess, instead of just low income.
Do you think they should scrap the whole student loan idea and make that money available as grant money instead?
Uh-huh.
Why can't they?
Can you say that one more time, John?
I was going to say, do you think that they should scrap the whole student loan idea and use that money for grant money instead?
Then they wouldn't be making money off of us.
Yeah, that's probably why they're not doing it.
Yeah, they do loans because they make interest off of student loans. If they give the money away, they're not making any money.
Or just don't take it from us in the beginning.
Yeah. I don't think the government knows how to not do that.
I know.
Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting discussion.
No, but I agree with Catherine. I think that it needs to be more accessible to people and not just because, like, we raise our kids to know that they have to pay for their own schooling, and maybe it's because that's the way that my husband and I were raised, because we had to pay for our own schooling, and we feel like it means something more to them if they pay it themselves. I mean, we're here to help them out. You know, if they need some money here and there, we're here, but for the most part, they pay for it. And they've not complained really, but they've mentioned before how it's not fair because we do make too much money for them to be able to benefit from the FAFSA. But so I agree with Catherine that there needs to be other factors because, you know, kids who are trying to make it on their own, they have to rely on their parents, and some parents like us, we're really horrible and mean, make them work for their own education, you know? So, I don't know.
I have parents like you. My parents were like, well, education's optional, so it's up to you. And if I didn't go to a church school where the tuition's way low, I wouldn't have been able to do it like debt free. But like the thing that I did was just work and then go to school, and that's what my husband has done as well. So we don't have to do that. But so I think for like if BYU, I don't know how BYU does it. I guess they use our tithing money, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
So I don't know if we found out their principles and applied it to our government,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a taxing, I guess, tithing, but not really. I mean, but
Yeah.
thinking of it like the government.
Yeah.
But it is. We just have people that are a lot more fiscally responsible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, who needs to go still?
Oh, me.
Cool.
Oh, and for our kids too, we pay tuition and books. We kind of started that, but then we make them pay for their housing, their groceries, their living expenses, their car, whatever, gas, whatever. So they do kind of work for it, but we made that commitment to do the tuition and books with the first kid, and then we just kind of kept having to continue.
Yeah. Once you do it for one, you have to do it for the rest.
I know. I just tell my husband just a little more overtime and we'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Mine, I researched, I kind of went off what Dr. Will was talking about in the video where he was talking about Social Security and retirement being a big problem. And I don't know if you guys remember what he said in there, but he was saying right now takes 3 workers to cover 1 retiree. And then by the year 2030, it will be 2 workers for every retiree. So obviously those odds are going to keep getting worse and worse. And the reason why it's so bad is because of bad planning back years and years ago when they started this program. And then also, he also touched on this where there was used to be really high immigration. So there was a lot of people coming here and a lot of people working, paying into that fund. But now actually the immigration has gone down a little bit. And we are going to really run out of money by the time like our kids and grandkids are ready to retire. They're going to be out of luck because the money is going to be gone. And the other, let's see, I was looking at Social Security retirement plans, and it says if you're among the 96% of workers covered under Social Security, then there's a whole packet. And so anyways, I had a link to that I looked on https www.usa.gov retirement, and it just talks kind of in detail about how, it's supposed to be, where if you were born in 1929 or later, you get 40 credits for 10 years of work, and so on. And so the plan, everything written up on their site, doesn't say they're going to be running out of money. But they are going to be running out of money when you kind of do the math. And you figure out that it's already 3 workers will pay for 1 retiree. And then, like you said, in 2030, it will be 2 workers for 1 retiree. So, I mean, it's already 2016. So if you go to 2045, there's going to be nothing left.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit scary to me. I think that was basically what I had.
Did I misinterpret what he said wrong? Because I thought he said that the only way we would get that 2-to-1 ratio was from immigrant workers.
Yes, he did say that, but because the immigration has slowed down, especially in California, like we have less people working now because people aren't coming to the border, they're not allowed to get their green cards, they're not paying into taxes. But I think that's what he meant.
Okay.
If we have immigration going, it's going to be successful, but currently, at least in our state, it's lower than ever. But,
which I find is really ironic because it's like immigration is really a hot topic right now too. And it's like people complain about immigration and, they need to stay in their own country and blah, blah, blah. But yet they're the ones that are like taking care of us almost.
I know.
They're anyway.
I think if they do it right, if they immigrate the right way and they get their cards and everything, then they're paying into taxes, then it's fine. But I think what's happening, at least in California, is we've got a lot of people running over the border and doing kind of cheap labor, cash jobs, but they're not paying into that fund.
Mm-hmm.
True.
It shouldn't really be hurting us, but it's taking away from jobs that are actually people who are supposed to, who are already residents, I guess, and who are paying their taxes. Probably a whole other issue, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel it where you live, or is that just here?
You feel it more there. Well, you should be getting more over there because a lot of people moved out of Arizona because of that SB 1070 thing.
Really? They're all coming here.
Yeah,
maybe it'll trickle back up. It's very crowded. I don't know why it says that we don't have as much immigration. It is crowded here.
It's funny.
Well,
I went to Mexico. I was going to say we went to Mexico about 5 years ago, and I was one of the guys that was on the tour bus. He said he was joking. He's talking about the fences. He's like, "You guys can build the fence as high as you want." He goes, "That's fine, but we'll just learn how to dig underneath it and come underneath."
Oh
That's
God,
funny.
it's true.
Well, I grew up in Idaho and now I live in Utah, and there is a ton of Hispanics. A ton. Like, there's a lot still.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on. Let's see. So the next thing is Dr. Will cites a problem no one wants to talk about. And I have to be honest, when I read this question, I had to go back and kind of rewatch the video because I couldn't remember what the problem no one wanted to talk about was. Because he talked about so much stuff. But I mentioned when I answered it that it was the mediocrity of education which led into the discussion of children born out of wedlock. It's almost like he tied the two together. He mentioned the lack of quality educations impacts our children because they won't be able to compete in the world, which will then impact the family, communities, and our nation, almost like a domino effect. So what did you guys say about that?
I totally agree. I am taking that lifespan psychology class right now. And so I'm learning about how important it is that the parents are involved in the child's education because that ensures, well, typically ensures them to be the most successful and up to par in their reading and math and things like that. So, I mean, if people are being born out of wedlock, then it's typical that both of their parents won't be as committed to each other or the children. And as he said, like communities will see more crime, more poverty because one of the highest populations that have poverty are single mothers with young children. So, and poverty like is correlated with low education. So I agree with what he was saying.
Beautifully said. I don't really have much more to add than what you guys said. You covered it all. That was good.
Ditto.
Okay. And so let's move on to the next one. So it says, according to Dr. Will, one thing you can do for your country is to reserve a spacious portion of your life for which your country is not responsible. Reflect on what you've learned and discuss this week and then respond to the following. So do you agree with Dr. Will? Now, when I read this, I was confused because I was like, what does he mean by that? What does he mean by like a portion of your life for which the country's not responsible for? What did you guys take out of that? And then
I took it just like what little pieces we can have, like just our home life, our family, the way we're allowed to protect and take care of our children. That's kind of one of the only things in our religious freedom, I guess. I feel like that the government can't control. And then when it said, do you agree with Dr. Will? I said, I do, and I wish he'd run for president.
yeah, he was awesome. I loved him.
I really liked him. I don't know all of his beliefs, but I liked him. He seemed like he knew what he was talking about. Everything I was listening to him like, yeah, through the whole thing. So I liked him.
Yeah, I kind of did that. I said our government should not be responsible for all aspects of our lives. That would not be what America stands for. America is home of the brave, land of the free, not home of the brave, land of the do whatever the government tells me to do. So
That's good.
Yeah,
so
I
what
was
did you
I
guys
was
do?
confused about that question or that statement as well. I took it as like being self-reliant. I don't know, because I think like maybe when I'm retired, then yeah, the government will help me because, well, or maybe like if we don't need to, if we've saved enough, then that'd be awesome. But like Social Security, like the government is involved. But I think for most of my life, I'll try to be like a contributing member of society rather than being reliable and stuff like that. So I just said yes, I believe in trying to be self-reliant for most of my life.
That's good.
That is good. It's kind of a different take on it. I like that. What about you, John? Just the same?
Yeah. Yep. Basically, find out whatever it is we can keep that's free of ours and keep it free.
Yeah. Okay, and then
Don't become dependent on the government. We're always looking to the government for problems or for solutions to our problems. We just need to stop doing it.
So then it just went on to say, so how does this affect or address, how does it address your chosen threat to children and families? So for mine is the selfishness is the main reason for divorce. And so as far as selfishness goes, it's kind of a personal thing, which it's funny how it stands for what I write. It says, funny how what it stands for really is for one's own self. The government can't make someone serve or be selfless. However, with their change in the divorce policy in the 1970s to make divorce easier, divorce has risen quite substantially. Maybe they should not have changed the policy to make it easier to get a divorce, but selfishness they should not have control over. Because that's like a personal thing. So, what about you guys?
My threat to families is on abortion. And so I was just saying, if I understand this right, where the government was involved, they pretty much it's been legalized. And so I have a problem with that. But so I don't know. I mean, I didn't really write it all out. I just wrote because the threat to families is abortion. I feel like it's maybe one of those religious issues, and then we don't want the government being in control of religion. But it's also a health, you know, it's life or death to me. It seems plain and simple. But they've made these rules, and you know, people voted for them, and so now it's legalized. So I feel like the government hopefully will listen to the people that are saying it is not okay, and they will change some of their policies. But if they don't, then I guess we just go with doing what we believe and hope others will catch the trend.
Yeah.
That was mine.
What about you, Catherine?
My topic was the transgender bathroom laws in Washington, which
On what? Sorry.
which when I wrote my article that we submitted, they were just overturning the law. But then just this last week, the Senate had now okayed the law. So I've been reading recent news articles about men and women's lockers and stuff like that. It's been awesome. Not really.
Since you've been studying it, my biggest question on that is, why don't they just make a third bathroom?
Good
Yeah.
question.
They don't have common sense, really.
Okay.
So I said, I think the government should be involved in protecting the safety of our public bathrooms and restrooms by enforcing the traditional men's and women's bathrooms. They should do what's right for the common good, not the minority. And so I think if any other illegal thing goes down, like physical abuse or whatever, they should protect. But they Oh, by the way, the title, I don't know if I shared this, but the title of my paper was um, Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Pee.
That's awesome.
Because you will hold your pee and not want to go to the bathroom in Washington.
That's great. You should be published just for that title alone.
I know, really. That's good.
John, what did you write on yours?
Well, mine was I got my thoughts are all sporadic, and I'm not wearing my glasses, so I just see a bunch of blurriness. But mine's on moral relativism, which I really regretted picking that topic. Although the one thing that I've learned is that actually comes down to there's all four of us are talking about the same thing, which is what you talk about, Tammy, selfishness. All of it's based on selfishness. But the moral relativism, what I got from Dr. Will was I wrote down a quote of his. He said that the government needs to cultivate the moral and intellectual world around us. And he talked about something about building something physically. Basically, what it comes back down to is that we need to have our religious rights defended, and we need to have more adherence to the Constitution, and just that's what I wrote. I just less. I wrote other stuff, but I can't read it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me find it. Hold on, I'll get it.
That sounds like
Just
a
basically
hard
that.
topic to write about.
It was very hard. I actually used abortion and pornography. I tied in other topics to make that work. So, but anyway, that's kind of what it was. Just basically that. Just adhering to the Constitution principles and the things that our country was founded for. We need to get back to that. The government seems to kind of make their own rules the way that they want to do.
Mhm. Yep.
But the one thing that I realized is that all the four of us are talking about that stem of selfishness.
Yeah. It's true. Okay, so is there anything anybody else wants to talk about or say, or what's all the questions?
Do you know if next week is that our where we have to do like a video speech, or is that week 8? Or do you know? I think
Well, I
it's
haven't
coming up.
looked into next week yet.
Okay, maybe we still have 2 weeks. I just remember seeing that we had to do some sort of a video report. I think it's just on our threat still, but I wondered how we were supposed to do that. No one's looked yet.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do know that we have to have that book, A Sacred Duty, read by next week, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I have the book, haven't opened it yet.
Yeah. I opened it and I ordered it off of Amazon, and there was a 1993 it was a program from a sacrament meeting inside of it. With some little kid
Wow.
drawing on it. It was so funny.
That's,
Yeah.
I read part of it. Most of the part where he talks about all of his anxieties before he gets to where he's there and in all this the way he's getting treated. And I just kept thinking, man, there's no way I could do what that guy does or anybody else is doing it. But hopefully he'll get us to the point where we can actually do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm almost done it, and it's really good. I think you guys will like it. It gets
Okay.
really interesting. At first, I was like, this is so boring, but then it gets interesting.
Okay.
All right, I will start it. Perfect. Well, Tammy, I hope you feel better.
Oh, I will once it quits hurting.
Yeah.
So, John, you have our summary.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I'll give it my best shot. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So basically we are talking about America and the policies and the different things that Dr. Will talked about with how each of the different systems in the ecological system are affected. Our overall theme that we pretty much came up with is that America is becoming more dependent, and some of that is due to bad planning based on older times and situations, and that the government needs to reassess the factors in determining how to give money to Americans. We thought one of the biggest threats was the lack of education and how the children born out of wedlock can contribute to more poverty, single mothers, and lower education, which is all associated with that. And then that would also not give us the ability to compete in the world. And in order to combat that, we need to have more parents that are involved in education, which also stems back to, we talked a little bit about the no-fault divorce and how that was made more accessible and easy to divorce, which causes these different trickle-down effects as well. Some of the things we talked about with that portion of our lives that we can reserve is basically protecting our freedoms. And Tammy says, or not Tammy, Catherine said that we needed to become more self-reliant and be more contributors instead of expecting things given to us, that entitlement that Dr. Will was talking about. And also, as our theme kind of formed together, a lot of this was based on selfishness and entitlement. We realized that many of the things and the policies that the government makes encourages, as Tammy was saying, encourages selfishness. And so our government needs to kind of, let's see, encourage to, as Catherine was saying, the government should also make policies that are based on what's for the common good, not necessarily the minority. And I guess to sum the whole entire meeting up is from what Tammy says. She says that America is the home of the brave, the land of the free, not the home of do whatever the government tells me to. And that's it.
Nice job.
Okay. Good job. Did I stop the broadcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop it and get that link from YouTube and then post it into the